Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million football fans who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Welcome to the first episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast, Season 2. The Meet the Mancunian podcast takes you on a weekly journey around the local community in Manchester. Season 2 has an interesting lineup of inspiring guests making a social or community impact in the city. Presented by Deepa Thomas Sutcliffe, newbie Mancunian. Tune in every Tuesday for your weekly dose of inspiration. Looking to eat healthily in a climate-friendly way? In this episode, we hear from Cath Broadhead, co-founder This Is The Promise, an urban homestead bringing local produce and sustainable living to Manchester. I'm delighted to introduce my guest, Cath Broadhead, co-founder This Is The Promise. Thank you, Cath, for talking to us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
And it's lovely to have you on Meet the Mancunian. So, Cath, tell us how you found your passion for sustainable living.
I think it kind of stems back to like my childhood and sort of the way I was brought up. My parents were like really industrious. They were, always make and do and mend, even though, we had, stuff and new things. Like they really saw the value in everything. And I remember like long before curbside recycling, we just took all of our recycling to the supermarket, and a lot of my friends just didn't really understand why we did that or why it was kind of a part of our life, but it just kind of wasn't a big deal. It was just something that we did. So I think that sort of resourcefulness and being, respectful of resource was something that was sort of like ingrained in my upbringing, really. And it's, followed through really into like my life now with having children. I love a project. I love to fix things. We have a fixing pile in our house. I think our children just think that everything can be fixed, because I generally do sort of say like, I'll deal with that. I'll have a little go at fixing that. And sort of a saying that I always used to use, taking my shoes to the cobblers. Like if shoes are worth wearing, they're worth repairing. And I think that across all avenues of life, really. I think if you value things and resource, then it's a really good sort of trait to have. So yeah, I think that's kind of where very far back, like why I would be really interested in having like a sustainable life, I suppose.
And it's really inspiring, and there's so much everybody can learn from you. So looking forward to hearing more. Could you tell listeners, Cath, about how you started your urban homestead and maybe your market garden that you were referencing?
So I've always sort of had an interest in being sustainable in terms of the food that we produce. And I had a vision, like if like a bit of just an idea like years ago that wouldn't it be amazing if we could be sustainable with just our fruit and vegetables? And I think sometimes you have these ideas and you're not sure whether you'd actually ever be able to do that. But I think sometimes the journey is about that process. And if you don't actually get there and be, fully on board with everything that you had a vision to do, it's almost about the process of getting there. So the idea of being able to have all of our own fruit and vegetable from the farm is sort of a real big aspiration for me. To know where it comes from, to have had a big part in growing it, and for our children to understand, how food gets from the farmer's fork to their own fork. I think it's really, really important. And as well, reducing the air miles that we have on our food, to shop locally, to shop with small businesses. It's really something that I'm passionate about. I've run a series of businesses in the past, for my career, and this is the 5th business we've set up, and it's the first business that we sell to local people. So it's not national business. We don't need to have people who are, hundreds of miles away from us. We can literally survive from selling to people who are just on our doorstep. We have, we're urban, we're in the middle of a lot of housing estates, and people walk to us to collect like their produce. And that's sort of our dream, that whatever we have left in terms of the market garden and whatever we don't want to eat ourselves, then we can sell it, or we can like swap it with people, and have a real like local sort of community. And I think it'll be nice if we keep getting told a lot that people would love to do something like we would, or they're not brave enough, or they don't have the space, and we can kind of facilitate that because we have kind of got space. We have volunteers that help us on the farm, and you don't have to own a farm to be involved in it and be involved in that sustainable journey. And I think that's a nice thing that we can do, is that we can help facilitate other people to live sustainably or eat as locally as possible. And that's really exciting for me. And we've obviously, searched for a long time to find this place. And now we can make it happen, really.
Well, that is a lovely story, and I love the way that you're involving volunteers and giving them the opportunity to kind of live their dreams as well while you're living yours. That's
Yeah.
really very, very interesting. Tell me more about who you help and support. You said local community. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with the local community.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we came, I don't think we had any sort of aspiration to sort of target a certain group. I think we knew that being on the farm, we would be available for other people to be involved, but I don't think we were perhaps prepared for how many people would come to us. I thought we would have to like reach out to people to get people involved. And we don't have a massive farm. We don't have, acres and acres. We only have 3.5 acres, but that is obviously enough for us. But I was really surprised that how many people were really pleased that we were taking it on as a farm, and we weren't just going to bulldoze it down and build a housing estate. We almost become, sort of, as I said there, like a beacon where people can come to. I think they feel a little bit like and I don't mean this like in a negative way, that they own a bit of us. We've got a right of way through the farm. People have obviously like known the farm for a lot of years, and they've seen it evolve through lots of different iterations. And I think they find it really nice that we're evolving and almost like a custodians of the farm for our generation. So today, actually, the farmer who we bought the farm from he comes quite regularly, and he did sort of say how well we're doing in terms of like, developing it and, making sure that it's looked after, really. So yeah, I think people coming to us, it's like almost like a bit of a hub, really. And I see it as somewhere that people will meet. We've been approached by a few companies, like community companies. An ice cream company wants to buy our fruit to help with their community group. We've been introduced to the RHS Bridgewater outreach team, and I think because we are a business, basically, they weren't sure how we'd fit in with them, but we've been able to help them with supplying foliage and spruce for some of their outreach workshops. And I think that'll just evolve more and more. We haven't been here that long, we only bought the farm less than a year ago. And I think, that will just evolve, and rather than us going out to people, it'll be kind of people will come to us, and we can help people in terms of space and bringing people together. I think it's going to be an exciting journey.
Very exciting. Tell me more about the impact you've made so far. It's just been a year, but looks like you're doing a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose impact kind of, it really varies, doesn't it, in terms of like who you are like a bit of a ripple effect, who you are impacting. And I suppose we are sort of finding our feet, but from the very beginning, I think we've made a huge impact on our own lives. One driver for this was that we really wanted our children to have like an amazing childhood and have the space and the freedom to, experience perhaps what we had when we were younger. And definitely for our well-being, it's just, it's something that's we haven't had to adjust to. It's a completely new life, and it's a dream that we've had for a long time. But in terms of like our work and our work-life balance it's completely changed. And then the local, like the very local community, they've really embraced us and supported us. They're really pleased that we're here. They love the idea that, we will have, the vegetables in the market garden, and we sell eggs, and we have bees, and, it's a real sort of, community-led project. And then reaching out, I suppose, to our volunteers as well, who the core team actually contacted us and asked us if they could volunteer. So it hadn't even occurred to us that people would want to. And I often ask them, like, you dedicate a lot of time to us, like, why? But they just get so much out of it. So, there's a lot to build on, and I think we are, as I said, finding our feet. But I think people are just really happy that we're living the farm as a farm, really, and it is going to be here, for the community, really. And there's so many things that the farm have had in the past. They've had a cricket pitch, and they used to do a lot of fetes. We've already held a bonfire for like the local community, and I think it'll be nice that we can maybe reintroduce some of those things that have happened in the past and put our own spin on them. And we've got plans for this year to have a harvest festival, so but linking it to a food bank, so that we can actually, like, not only help local people but help a wider community as well. So we've got loads of ideas, and it's just, picking the right ones, I think, for the right time, I suppose.
They all sound fantastic, and I'm sure many people would love to reach out to you. So, on that cue, can you tell us how interested people might reach out to you or learn more? Maybe your website, social media?
Yeah, of course. So our website, we've just finished our branding, and our website will be rolled out next year. Probably, yeah, we just want to find our feet in terms of that. So at the moment, Instagram and Facebook. So This Is the Promise. So on Instagram, this_is_the promise, and Facebook as well. And then just good old giving us a ring, give us a call. We just love to hear from people and hear what people kind of want, I suppose, and how we can help.
Lovely. What advice would you have for people looking to start something similar in their local community?
I just say do it. Like, once you've worked out what you really want to do, and I think a lot of that comes from like what makes you happy, what is your sort of drive, and not kind of feeling you can do everything, or you might want to do everything. But once you've really decided what you want to do and what is going to make you happy, because you can sometimes, I think, have an idea, and if you reflect on it, it's not actually what you want, what will be, the best thing for you. But just go for it, and don't take a no for an answer. You might have to think outside the box, and you might have to compromise. But I think if you keep in mind the bigger picture, and how you want your life to look, you've just got to go out and do it. And there'll always be restrictions, and you might not have the money to do it, or you might not have the skills, but you've just got to make a plan and then just stick to it, and it will happen. Like, I do believe that if you want something to happen enough, it'll happen.
The philosophy. And I'm sure many people will get inspired after listening to you. I'm going to switch gears, Cath, and ask you the signature questions we ask all the guests on the Meet the Mancunian podcast, which is, the first one is, what do you love the most about Manchester?
I think when I came to Manchester, it was something that it really stuck out to me, that it's just so diverse. There's so many people, there's so many different people, there's so much to do. It's like the ideal place to be. It's not too big, it's not too small. Like Ian Brown put it perfectly, Manchester has got everything except a beach. It's just a great place to be, and I think that made me really feel that, you know, when we were looking to leave Manchester, you know, it really got under our skin. It's that diversity that what I want to bring my children up to for that to be normal for them. It's just got it all. I love it.
Like that. I'm a new Mancunian, so I'm still figuring out Manchester, but everything I see so far and hear so far is lovely. Where's your favorite place in Manchester?
Oh, I'd say the Northern Quarter. It's got so many, you know, formative memories for me. The first place I lived in Manchester wasn't far from the Northern Quarter, and when I found it, I just, you know, it was just a world that I absolutely loved. It's where I moved back to when I finished being a student in Manchester. It's where I met my husband. It's where we got engaged. You know, there's so many amazing memories there. It really feels like, I suppose, like the home of where I sort of, you know, was nurtured in, like, Manchester. So it's always changing, but not enough for you not to recognise it. So yeah, I'd say the Northern Quarter.
Thank you. What's the most important life lesson you've learned?
I'd say that keeping to your own lane and not being distracted, I think, by others. So especially this links so much to having dreams. Like, you can often, like, look at other people's way of living or how they do things and be pulled in that direction. But I think just keeping to your own lane and not allowing other noise to kind of cloud your judgment and really listening to what you want to do is so important. Because I think you can spend so much of your life wanting more or wanting the next best thing, or, oh, if only I've, you know, gone on this holiday, or when I've bought this house, or when I've lived the sustainable dream, like, am I going to be happy? You kind of can't be. You've got to just sort of be really true to what you believe will make you happy and stick to that, and don't, you know, you can really admire other people's ideas and the way that they live, but you've really got to be mindful of what it is that makes you tick, keep in your own lane and stick with that. And I think that's what can bring happiness. Like, and for me, I think that's a really important thing.
I like that very much. It's like, you know, you keep in your own lane, focus, and you know, cheer other people on, but kind of live your own dreams. Very interesting.
Yeah, and I think you're right there. Cheer people on. It's like, you know, be happy for people if they're doing something, you know, something really exciting. But it doesn't mean that has to be your dream, or it has to be something you do. You know, you just, let them do their thing and you do yours.
I like it very much. If someone wrote a book on your life, what would they title it?
I think a nod to the fact that I'm always late. It would be, I'll be there soon. But with, you know, I'm not as bad at being late as I used to be. My husband is always early, and I've, you know, I think we've both rubbed off on each other a little bit there. But not only the fact that I am always late and renowned for being late, I think the fact that I'm always going to get there. So I'm very determined. I don't give up. And if it does take me longer to get there, I do get there in the end. So yeah, I think a nod to both sides of that would work quite well. So I'll be there soon.
Like that. I'm going to read that book when you write it.
I need to write it now.
Absolutely. Cath, thank you so much for talking to me and my listeners. Thank you all for listening from so many countries around the globe. I'm so glad to know you're finding some inspiration from the amazing Mancunian guests who feature here. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the Meet the Mancunian podcast Season 2. Tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Please do consider subscribing to the podcast and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. I would also be grateful if you could share this podcast with a friend or a family member. Thank you.